Hello everyone, and welcome to our third special episode of Korean Cinema Today. Today we'll be discussing the Korean film selections for the upcoming Berlin International Film Festival, as well as the role of the network of Asian fantastic films with our special guest that has joined us in the studio here today. This is Piers Conran, and I'll be talking to you today with Thomas Nam from NAFF, the Network of Asian Fantastic Films, and we'll be discussing Berlin and, once again, NAFF. So Korean Cinema Today, this podcast is the new podcast from KOBIZ, which is the website for the Korean Film Council. If you visit that website, which is koreanfilm.or.kr, you can keep up with the latest news, features, and interviews on Korean film, and you'll also be able to find our webzine, which is also titled Korean Cinema Today, or to subscribe to our newsletter, and of course tune in again to this podcast. Find us also online on social media. On Twitter, you can find us at twitter.com/Korean Film Biz, that's B-I-Z, or on Facebook, our website is facebook.com/kobiz.kofic, that's KOBIZ.KOFIC. If you'd like to find this podcast on iTunes, just search for the name Korean Cinema Today and it'll be right there. I'm your host, Piers Conran. I am a journalist for the Korean Film Council. I write for the website koreanfilm.or.kr. I'm also the Korean correspondent for international film site twitchfilm.com and the founder and editor of Korean film blog Modern Korean Cinema. Today we have the very great pleasure of welcoming Thomas Nam, who is the managing director of the Network of Asian Fantastic Films, which is a genre industry program that runs concurrently with the Pucheon International Fantastic Film, also known as PFAN. So Thomas, thank you very much for joining us in the studio today.
Thank you for inviting me. It's my honor to be here this afternoon.
First, let's have a little look at Berlin. Thomas, you've been to Berlinale quite a few times, is that right?
Yes, I've been to Berlin since 2008, and then prior to my gig with PFAN, I was with Busan, so I've been to Berlinale a couple of times also.
Great. Yes. We've got a few films a few Korean films playing at Berlinale this year. Mm-hmm. 7 have been confirmed for us. 3 of those are in form. 1 is in Panorama. 1 is going to be opening the culinary section, and we've got a special screening as well as a short in the Generation K+ section. What do you think of this year's lineup at the Berlinale?
I think it represents probably entire spectrum of what Korean film industry is like. You have films from major studio or Korean major powerhouses, as well as numerous indie films as well. I'm glad to see some of the names here who seems to be directors that would really need some kind of recognition from the outside of Korea. I'm very happy that they get to show their new films at Berlinale.
Great. Is there any film there in particular that you're very keen on?
I'm thrilled about a new film by Lee Song-hil, of course. I'm a huge fan of his works. I'm looking forward to watching that, as well as the Kelvin Park's new documentary. This and his previous one, 청계천 Medley, are both produced by a friend of mine.
Oh yeah.
So I'm great to see that she's getting it done, even though she's not in Korea. She's doing it in New York. So,
oh, wow.
So here's to you, Kyungmi.
I had a chance to see that is his new documentary, A Dream of Iron. I thought it was really terrific. Just kind of this series of very much visually arresting tableaus that take place at POSCO, which is this steel-making factory in Pohang on the southern coast of Korea.
Yes.
Really, really fascinating stuff. Now, his previous film, 청계천 Medley, was also invited to the forum section of Berlin back in 2011. You mentioned Lee Song-hil. His new film is Night Flight. That'll be a world premiere. In fact, both of those films are world premieres at Berlin. This is his third time at the Berlinale. Previously, No Regrets from 2006, and White Knight was there last year. So he's quite popular at the event. And of course, I agree with you, he's a great filmmaker. I'm glad to see him there. So we have a few more commercial films there, such as 2 films from CJ actually, Final Recipe and Snowpiercer. What do you make of those in the lineup?
Well, personally, I'm a huge fan of Bong Joon-ho's films, so I think that's a great inclusion to their programming. As per Gina Kim's, I know that CJ worked really hard for this film with interesting background, dealing with the Singapore counterparts and what have you. So it's also great to see that they made the film. Also, I'm a huge fan of Michelle Yeoh as well. So I haven't had a chance to see Final Recipe yet, but if I ever get a chance at the Berlinale, then I will definitely check it out.
So, looking at both of these CJ films, actually, it comes to mind that they're both international productions. CJ's had quite a year in 2013 between these two and that Chinese rom-com Wedding Invitation. So they've really kind of expanded their focus overseas. In fact, we're seeing a lot of that in Korean cinema as a whole.
Well, CJ has always been, I guess, a forerunner for the international co-production, even before dealing with Chinese counterpart, or in this case, the European. They dealt with even with the U.S. Weinstein, whether it's a Weinstein Company, whether it's a Miramax, whether it's a Lionsgate, and what have you. So, and following their, I guess, footsteps, now other companies are going through great co-productions. Mr. Go, of course, with the Showbox, with the Chinese, and as well as numerous projects. I know that not only CJ, but also Showbox, Lotte, they are all looking for some form of co-production with the outside counterparts. It's good to know that that's happening, because Korea is a small country and they really need to expand the audience in some ways, and co-production is the way to go in order to do that. So.
Yeah, it makes sense. The industry has, of course, it's hit record after record these last 2 years. And do you think it's kind of reaching that kind of saturation point where it really needs to look at a focus overseas to increase its revenue?
I think so, because, again, because of number of populations you're dealing with, there's a limitation. Whereas if you go overseas, you're looking at China, which is just uncharted territory. There are places that they do not have multiplexes yet. And imagine a couple of years from now where there is places will have 100 or more multiplexes that can accommodate films from Korea. You're looking at possibility. It's a pot of gold that needs soon to be discovered. At the same time, also the popularity from the Southeast Asia, you can't discount that either. The popularity of K-pop, K-cinema is just unbelievable. I was in Vietnam maybe a month and a half ago, and you couldn't believe the interest or the enthusiasm that you see about Korean cinema from the people in general. And it's it's pretty hard to ignore. So kudos to Korean cinema, and there are other territories I think Korea can definitely look into. I think Eastern Europe or the Central Asia that hasn't been really tapped into yet. These people will have resources, so we'll see. In a couple of years from now, who knows?
Yeah, it's very interesting to see where it's all going. You mentioned China and Vietnam. Both of those countries actually feature quite a number of Korean exhibitors now. The major exhibitors in Vietnam are CJ Entertainment, or CGV, sorry, and lots of cinemas.
Absolutely, yes.
And CGV have also pierced into the Chinese markets. I read recently that China is opening essentially 10 screens every single day on average. And CJ mentioned, or CGV mentioned, that they're going to open something like 15 new theaters in China this year. So more opportunities for Korean films to screen there.
Sure, that's pretty impressive. Speaking of Vietnam, CGV there, now they are tapping into actually producing Vietnamese film financed by the CGV. So that's another, Korean the influences that is taking place in Vietnam.
I think they're training young kind of aspiring filmmakers around there as well. I heard they have kind of some projects like that.
Oh yes, which is a good thing. I think that really sort of portrays CGV or CJ as one of the role model in terms of nurturing the new talents and what have you.
Definitely. So. They also support, of course, the Korean Academy of Film Arts features, and it's always great to see those. And they do quite well on the festival stage.
Yes, absolutely.
So going back to Berlin, what makes this festival so special? I know that you visit quite a few festivals every year.
Well, I can talk in terms of two things. One as a general Korean cinema, and second as a P-fan person. Generally, Berlinale is one of the top 3 maybe film markets in the world with the Cannes, and then it's also the first one to open up for the 2000 or every year. So you have the titles that's eager to be introduced as on Koreans, and this is also a place where a lot of the European buyers and film professionals show up, and it's a great opportunity to showcase for the first hand what is available, and it's quite successful for art house or sort of genre titles, which even though Korean films nowadays the budget has been increasing for what have you, but compared to Hollywood film, these are low budget indie films. So it's a great showcase for them. At the same time, art house films. The Berlinale has always been kind to Korean indie films. So that's also another great way to showcase the film. Personally, as a P-fan person, the Berlinale is where you pick up the genre films from the Europe. And because of our dates, which is in July, it is in fact the most essential film festival to attend, rather than Cannes, because Cannes takes place in May, which will be way too late for us to program. So in that case, for us, it's a gold mine, of course, and I'm sure it will be the same case for other similar festivals taking place around, in June, in May or June or what have you. But so in case because of that, P-fan values Berlinale a great deal. It's the only festival that we send our entire programming team.
Wow.
So that kind of says something.
Yeah, no, you take it very seriously. Yeah. Berlin is a huge event. There's something like 400 films a screen there every year. Mm-hmm. Is it? Some terrific Korean films are playing there this year. But is there just the chance that they just get lost in the midst of so many titles?
Well, that's the role of, I think, the distribution company. Personally, I think I believe that the Korean company is doing a fine job. You have to understand there are certain cases with CJ, Showbox, or Lotte, that they are responsible for handling many different titles. Even though they will try their best to pay equal attention to every single title, it's possible to that they get to kind of lose track on pushing on certain titles. I think that's why the rural film festivals are very important, especially Korean ones. What we tend to do is if there are certain genre titles from these distribution companies that are not getting enough attention, then we will make sure to pick them up and then give it the attention through the festival channel. And I'm sure that Jeonju or Busan will do the same for other indie films as well.
Absolutely. So ultimately, would you say that Berlinale is a good platform for launching Korean films onto the international scene?
Sure, absolutely. It's good you have to know the people. It's not that easy to get into Berlinale. It's a top 3 festival. I'm glad that they are showing really heavy interest in Korean films. But that comes with additional responsibility that Korean independent filmmakers or the Korean filmmakers has to, bring out the quality product, quality, output. So we'll see. But yes, absolutely. Berlinale and Cannes, if you can get into those two, sure, it would be fantastic.
Absolutely. So when you visit Berlinale, what kind of a role do you take on during the festival?
Since I'm an industry-related person, most of my focus goes to their talent campus and co-production market, and I visit them, have meetings with the projects, talk with the financiers and co-production partners who visit those programs. And then I will do some benchmarking based on their program. I will also help out with other programmers on selecting films, since project market and the film festival goes hand in hand. So I will try to help them by scouting out noteworthy filmmakers. And then if they need help with networking with them, then I'll try to, associate them with our programmers and what have you.
Wow, so that sounds like must be a very busy 11 days for you.
Yeah, contrary to what others might say, it's not a vacation. It's actually work, and but we enjoy.
Sure.
That's the reason why we work for the film festivals.
Absolutely. So then let's look a little bit now at NAFF, the Network of Asian Fantastic Films, of which you're the managing director. Could you tell us a little bit about this industry program?
Sure. It's a program founded back in 2008 by Bucheon International Fantastic Film Festival, with focus on nurturing a young Asian filmmaker or filmmakers of Asian diaspora. It features three main programs. One is IT Project. It's a world's first ever genre film project market that selects about 20 plus projects every year. And second part is a Spotlight NAFF Forum and the Industry Library. And third part is a Fantastic Film School, which is a intense, in-depth education program with the students from all over Asia, and we do that during the 4 nights and 5 day period.
So at the moment, you're right in the thick of the PFAN's Youth Academy. Is this another element onto this program? We've
been doing this Youth Film Academy for this is our fourth year. It's an initiative taken by Bucheon City to nurture the potential talents from Bucheon area. Now we have expanded to the entire Gyeonggi province. We select about 40 some students from our entire region, and during the 3-week period, we have them take classes, shoot as a group, and then do the editing. And then by the end of third week, we do screening and then graduation thing. In fact, screening is day after tomorrow. So I'm sure the students are going crazy right now at their editing suites.
Absolutely. Well, that sounds like a terrific initiative to get young filmmakers out there trained and, and potentially scouting out new future talents.
Absolutely. And, the Korean, in general, they're huge lovers of films. The idea is to give, these local high school students who's, if you know how education system works in Korea, it's all studying and nothing. So give them a little bit of time to, pursue their desires or goals during the winter break period. And that, so far, we have a pretty good successes. Some of their work's been shown in international film festivals, went to Hawaii, went to Ubari, and then, so we'll see. I'm really looking forward to this year's crop and their works day after tomorrow.
Excellent. So you're very busy. Again, thank you for taking the time to come here and in the midst of that. I think NAFF is a terrific event. As you know, I go to PFAN every year. I love the festival. And,
Thank you.
I'm getting more and more interested at what happens at NAFF. You have a lot of moving parts. There's the forum talks, the IT project. You have a spotlighted nation every year.
Mm-hmm.
Last year was the Philippines,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken. It was
Mm-hmm.
it was at Indonesia the year before that.
Yes.
How important is it to kind of focus on one of these countries every year?
Well, the problem with these countries is that they have established genre film industry, but no one outside of their country seems to know that. Recent times, the internet definitely helps you, and what have you. But the Philippines, for example, 2013 was an incredible year for the Philippines because they have a spotlight in Cannes.
Mm-hmm.
They had a spotlight through us, and they had a spotlight at Busan as well. But it's not common for certain countries like that to have those type of spotlight. And that I like to think that Singapore was never known as a genre film factory, but we did a showcase in 2009, and then you have films like Cover or 2359. These are all genre films
Mm-hmm.
coming out from the Singapore, and these young filmmakers. They have this. Some of them have a really strange mind that they want to pursue, but without the exposure from overseas market, they never had a chance to, or even get a support from their government agencies.
Mm.
So either it's Singapore, whether it's Taiwan's another country, whether it's Indonesia or Philippines. Prolific countries with a genre film industry. But I'm just glad that by focusing on these countries, that NAFF was able to shed some light on what's available. In fact, we did when we did spotlight on Philippines this past year. There were 7 projects. 2 of them are already in production. One of them is in post-production.
Mm-hmm.
So these are prolific filmmakers with the drives. So let's give them another channel to showcase their talents. And
Absolutely.
that's what Project Spotlight has been.
Great. And so within the IT project, it doesn't just exclusively look at one country every year. It accepts projects from around the world. And you, of course, have a number of Korean projects there every year.
Yes.
Korean genre cinema is well known on a commercial level. It's a slightly different story on the independent level, I find. There's a number of great films that are there. It's a little harder for them to get that kind of distribution, but with PFAN, there's been some terrific things that have come up over the years. Jihajin with Bloody Fight in Iron Rock Valley, Baekseung-gi with Superversion, which
yes.
unfortunately had no exposure overseas, which I thought was a real shame, a film I loved so much. And Oh Young-do with his recent films, Invasion of Alien Bikini and Young Gun in the Time.
Sure.
How do you think this Korean genre fair is developing at this point, particularly on the independent level?
Well, there's a reason why these independent filmmakers have to choose the thriller or the action or thriller genre or a horror genre. That's because it's one of the cheapest ones to make with potential commercial viability. The horror can it can translate into different countries without much of a fair. Whereas comedy, then you have to think about different cultures and what have you. I've seen a great deal of advancement of this low budget thriller or horror genre. Ajumma, which was one of the titles. That's been to, I think, maybe 9 different festivals.
Yeah, I won a few awards as well.
As well. And you're talking about, relatively speaking, these are the projects that's less than $500,000 in terms of budget. And so the popularity of those genre is there. It's just that certain genre may translate well. I think that's one of the reasons for the advantage of having a thriller or horror genre film. But not all genre translate well or sell well. The science fiction, it just doesn't seem to work in Korea. It's a great topic, but I don't know. So So it depends.
Yeah.
But you also have, these established Korean directors, like whether it's a Kim Ji-yoon, whether it's Park Chan-wook or Bong Joon-ho. They are, in a sense, they are genre filmmakers.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the filmmakers that the outside of Korean people, Korean people outside of Korea will sort of like identify Korean cinema with. So that's one of the reasons I think maybe people from outside is seeking genre titles, and maybe because there's a demand for that, maybe the filmmakers are sort of looking into that particular genre as well. But not all films are made by CJ, Showbox, Lotte, or these moguls. So if they are filmmakers willing to make a small budget genre film, then you should come to PIFA, and we'll try to help them as much as we can.
So, genre fair, of course, very important for Korean cinema and PFAN and NAFF in particular. And as you mentioned, these kind of films are the ones that are fairly well noticed overseas. Certainly the films of the big auteurs like Bong Joon-ho and Kim Ji-yoon and Park Chan-wook. So there's all these genre films are doing well overseas. Often Korean ones are noticed as known for its genre cinema. Is that in any way problematic, do you think?
I mean, it's always if your industry gets sort of like a stereotyped, that can be a problem. But at the same time, if you get a notoriety, why not milk it as much as you can?
Sure.
And right now, it seems like Korea equals to extremely violent, thriller or horror films. Well, if you get noticed for that, well, try to make best out of that. But it's more than just the hype. The Koreans do make great action thrillers and the violent films. So I think maybe it's our nature. I don't know. No, but it's a good thing. I think we can definitely be a little bit more successful. And who knows? From then on, we can build up our film basis and then slowly, gradually expand the genre to others. I mean, yeah.
So, what do you think is it that draws international audiences to Korea's genre fair in particular?
Well, most of people who are fans of Hong Kong films or Japanese horror or Korean thrillers, well, they are fed up with conventional Hollywood films, fairs. And we do provide unique perspective, in a sense, because we don't have as much money as Hollywood films, so we have to come up with just different ways to effectively portray certain things in a unique way. So they see the fresh vision, they see the fresh ideas. I think that those are the reasons. I mean, those are the reasons why there are constant remakes of Asian titles, including Korean titles, for Hollywood films. I recently saw a clip of course, The Old Boy by Spike Lee. So I think it's open to interpretation by different audiences. But the fact that it got remade by a named director, by the studio, I mean that tells you something,
It's certainly very significant. Hollywood has definitely taken notice. It's all these kind of original films. So many films get their rights snatched up every year now. They don't always make it to screens, but it's telling, as you say. One film that is a very interesting genre title is The Terror Live, which was a big hit last year in Korea. Had over 5 million admissions. I believe it was the 9th most successful film of the year and what was the biggest year for ever in Korean film. And of course, Terror Live originated as a project at NAFF.
Yes, it was. I'm proud of that. I know that project went through different changes in terms of a production company. I'm glad that it came out with a bang. We were very fortunate to have it as the closing film of our festival this past year.
And was that film in the project, was it in 2009?
Yes, it was a project of 2009.
Okay.
Yes.
Have there been any other significant NAFF projects that have been released around the last few years?
Well, one of the films that was released about a month ago, from a film called AM11, which was also a project of mine, about 2010. There are numerous foreign overseas projects that's been played. Modus Anomaly from Indonesia.
Okay.
That was one of our projects. Several from Taiwan. I think title called Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow by Alvin Chen. That was also one of our projects.
I didn't know that. It was a terrific film.
And then and there are two films that's been completed. That's about to be released, and they are film called Camera by James Long, the son of the famous Po Chi Long from Singapore and Hong Kong. That's a great film, which was also one of my projects. And also the Singapore project called After Image by Tony Kern. He's an expat living in Singapore who's a prolific filmmaker there as well. So there are many different titles. And although it hasn't started yet, the film that I'm really anticipating is a film Service for People, which is the next project, a film by Jang Chul-soo. And that was our project in 2012. And he is casting right now.
Okay.
So, and it's fully funded by CJENM. So
Wow.
I'm really looking forward to seeing that film.
I bet. For viewers unfamiliar with the name, Jang Chul-soo is the director of Bedeviled, a terrific genre film from 2010. He was formerly an assistant director for Kim Ki-duk. That was a great film. He also made
Secretly Greatly,
which was a runaway success in Korea last year. So yeah, anything with his name attached, I'm game. I'll be there opening day, definitely. So what do you hope for NAFF in the coming years? Are you going into your 7th year now?
Yes. Well, the PFAN will celebrate its 20th anniversary in 2016. My goal by then is to create some form of a fund, global fund. Doesn't have to be huge, but that will enable these talented filmmakers from not only Korea, from Asia, to fulfill, their filmmaking dream, whether it's a low budget or micro budget film. If it's possible to support them fully and for the entire pre-production, production, post-production stage, that's my goal that I want to do. Also at the same time, not necessarily creating a film market, but I think without creating a formal film market, it's also possible to make deals over completed films. So we're trying to invite more sales agents and distributors as our guests, and maybe create a small marketplace for the genre films as well. Those are goals that we have short time by 2016, and so we'll see. I mean, I have 2 more years to work on that, so 3 more years.
Great. I'm as I said, I'm a huge fan of PFAN. I look forward to seeing how that plays out in the coming years. I'll be there every year.
Thank you very much.
So let me ask you one final question. We've been talking a lot about Korean films. Could you tell us about a few of your very favorite Korean movies?
Wow. I'm sort of Korean. I'm a Korean American. I missed out on the part of Korean history of 1980s and huge chunk, the entire 80s and a huge chunk of the 90s. So when I came back and looked at certain films of the past, I'm flabbergasted and at the same time astonished by the quality and the depth. One film, my favorite film, is a film called Carnivore. That's a film by Kim Gi-young. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. Mm-hmm. But, he deals with human sexuality, and I couldn't believe how he can, get away with certain imageries. He did it, of course, with the using analogy and metaphors. It's unbelievable, blew my mind. So that's one of the films I like. And of course, I'm a huge fan of Park Chan-wook. So out of the Revenge Tale series, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, that also sort of blew my mind.
Yeah, that was the first Korean film I ever saw.
Oh,
it's a very special place in my heart.
So those to me, I mean, I like all Korean filmmakers. I think Korean filmmakers they have this challenging spirit that if they play a right card, it will go a long way. And so that's those two, I think.
Right. Yeah. Kim Ki-young and Park Chan-wook, definitely some terrific recommendations for anyone interested in any kind of cinema, let alone Korean.
Oh, sure. Yes.
Thomas, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a great chat about Berlin and NAFF. I know that you're going to be finishing the Youth Academy. I wish you the best of success with that.
Thank you very much.
And I know you're also heading off to Rotterdam in a few days, and then you'll be going on to Berlin after that. So I wish you very safe travels and best of luck with those festivals.
Thank you. And I want to thank you for the continued support of NAFF and the PFAN. And then, without the support from everyone, we wouldn't be doing this. And, so we'll try to do a better version next year. And then hopefully a lot of people will come and support and see us in July.
I'm sure they will. I'm certainly looking forward to it.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks
for having me here. Thank you.
That was Thomas Nam, who joined us to talk about the new Korean films at Berlin, and also to discuss his role in the network of Asian fantastic films. So those was a very illuminating discussion, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Be sure to check us out again on koreanfilm.or.kr. Listen to the podcast by finding us again on iTunes. Our name is Korean Cinema Today. You can just search for that, and we'll pop up. And that's it for this week. So tune in again next time, and thanks very much for listening. This is Pierce Connor, your host in Seoul.